Today, I'm excited to share with you 7 toxic habits that I've managed to kick to the curb in my journey towards a more minimalist and fulfilling life. These are real life lessons I've learned through trial and error. 1. Saying goodbye to morning laziness. Let's start with a biggie: being lazy in the morning. Oh boy, was this a tough one to overcome, especially with young kids running around. I used to think, I'll get to that later. But here's the truth bomb: with kids, there is no later. There's always something that needs your attention right now. My mornings used to be a mess. I'd wake up to unmade beds, dishes piled high in the sink, and laundry threatening to take over the house. It was overwhelming, to say the least. But I realized that this habit was setting a stressful tone for the entire day. By the time evening rolled around, I was exhausted and dreading the next morning. The game changer? Simplifying my morning routine. I know what you're thinking. But aren't morning routines supposed to be these elaborate rituals with meditation, journaling, and green smoothies? Not necessarily. I discovered that a simple, doable routine works wonders. Here's my tried and true morning trifecta: make the bed, put away the dishes, start one load of laundry. That's it. Just 3 things, but they make a world of difference. Making the bed instantly transforms the bedroom from chaos to calm. Clearing the dishes creates a clean slate in the kitchen. And starting that load of laundry, it's like giving a high five to my future self. Now, some days, I don't even get dressed before tackling these tasks. And you know what? That's okay. The point is to create a sense of accomplishment and order right from the start. It sets a positive tone for the day and makes everything else feel more manageable. 2. Overcoming jealousy. Now, let's tackle a toxic habit that goes beyond physical clutter: jealousy. This is a big one, folks, and I'll be honest, it's something I've struggled with for as long as I can remember. Jealousy is like a weed that can take root in your mind, choking out happiness and contentment if left unchecked. For the longest time, I fell into the trap of believing that what I had wasn't enough. I'd look at others, their homes, their clothes, their seemingly perfect lives on social media, and think, if only I had that, then I'd be happy. But here's the truth I've come to realize: that kind of thinking is a bottomless pit. There will always be someone who has more, does more, or seems to be more. So, how did I start to overcome this toxic habit? The answer is deceptively simple: gratitude. Now, I'm not talking about a vague, "I'm grateful for sunshine" kind of gratitude. I'm talking about a deliberate, consistent practice of acknowledging the good in your life. Here's what I do. I sit down, sometimes once, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and I write down what I'm grateful for. And I get specific. I write about the things I have, the things I don't have. Yes, you read that right. Sometimes not having something can be a blessing. The experiences I've had, the people in my life. I write about how the sun feels on my skin in the morning, or how my body naturally wants to wake up and go outside. This practice has been transformative. It's like flipping a switch in my brain. Instead of focusing on what's missing, I start to see the abundance that's already present in my life. And you know what? Science backs this up. Gratitude has been shown to actually increase the frequency at which our bodies vibrate. We're talking about moving from lower frequencies like fear, jealousy, and hatred to higher frequencies of love, gratitude, and enlightenment. It's not always easy. There are days when jealousy tries to creep back in. But now, I have a tool to combat it. When I feel those familiar pangs of envy, I know it's time to break out my gratitude journal and shift my focus. 3. Embracing the great outdoors. Let's move on to a habit that might not seem toxic at first glance, but can have a huge impact on our well-being: staying inside too much. In our modern, tech-driven world, it's all too easy to spend entire days indoors, moving from one screen to another. But here's the thing: we're not meant to live in boxes all the time. We need fresh air, sunlight, and a connection to the natural world. Breaking this habit was a game changer for me, especially as a mom of 3 energetic boys. I realized that not only was staying inside affecting my mood and energy levels, but it was also impacting my kids. So I made a conscious decision to prioritize outdoor time, and let me tell you, it's made a world of difference. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I'm so busy. How am I supposed to fit outdoor time into my already packed schedule? Trust me, I get it. That's why I've made it a non-negotiable part of our routine. Here's how we do it: morning bike rides or walks. Before we even clean up from breakfast, we head outside for a quick adventure. It sets a positive tone for the day. Post-nap outdoor time. Every day after nap time, we have outdoor time. It might be as simple as playing on our patio or as adventurous as a hike in a nearby park. Spontaneous outdoor breaks. Feeling stressed or overwhelmed? That's our cue to step outside, even if just for a few minutes. The benefits have been incredible. Not only do we all sleep better and have more energy, but there's something magical about being outside that puts things into perspective. When you're looking at a vast sky or a beautiful landscape, suddenly your problems don't seem so big. It's a reminder that there's a whole world out there, beyond our daily concerns. 4. Taming the impulse purchase beast. All right, let's talk about a habit that was not only toxic to my minimalist aspirations, but also to my wallet: making purchases without thinking them through. In today's world of one-click ordering and targeted ads, it's way too easy to buy things we don't really need. Before I knew it, my home was filling up with stuff that didn't bring value to my life. The solution? It's beautifully simple. Lists. I know. It sounds old school, but hear me out. I created a system where I have two lists: wants and needs. On the needs side, you'll find practical items like toilet paper, new toothbrushes, paper towels, and socks for the boys. These are the essentials that keep our household running smoothly. The wants list is where things get interesting. This is where I jot down those extra homeschool supplies I've been eyeing, or that stain-free shirt that would be nice to have. Here's the key. By writing things down, I give myself time to really consider each purchase. Is it something we truly need? Will it add value to our lives? Or is it just a fleeting desire triggered by clever marketing? This simple act of writing and waiting has saved me from so many unnecessary purchases. It's not about never buying anything on the wants list. It's about being intentional and mindful with our choices. 5. Finding balance. Overcoming overwork. All right, let's dive into a toxic habit that I think many of us can relate to: overworking. In our productivity-obsessed culture, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that more work equals more success. But let me tell you, as someone who's been there, overworking is a fast track to burnout, not success. My relationship with work has always been a bit of a roller coaster. I tend to swing between two extremes. Either I'm in full-on lazy mode, or I'm working myself to the bone. Finding that sweet spot in the middle? That's been my biggest challenge. The problem with overworking is that it stems from a place of trying to control everything. We think that if we just work hard enough, long enough, we can guarantee the outcome we want. But here's the truth I've had to learn and relearn. We're not in control, not really. So, how did I start to break this toxic habit? It began with a shift in perspective, and for me, that came through prayer. Now, I know not everyone is religious, but bear with me because I think the principle can apply to anyone. I started praying for something that might sound a bit counterintuitive. I asked not to get what I want. Instead, I asked for new eyes to see and ears to hear. I asked to trust that things would work out as they should, even if it wasn't exactly as I had planned. This shift was huge. It took the pressure off. Instead of frantically trying to control every outcome through sheer force of will and endless work, I started to trust the process. I began to see my work as part of a bigger picture, rather than the entire picture itself. 6. The power of asking for help. Now, let's tackle a toxic habit that I think many of us struggle with: being too afraid to ask for help. This one hits close to home for me, and it's rooted in a mix of fear, pride, and a misguided belief that we should be able to handle everything on our own. For the longest time, I was caught in this trap. I didn't want to appear weak or needy. I wanted people to think I had it all together. But here's the truth I've come to realize. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and self-awareness. The turning point for me came when I flipped the script in my mind. I asked myself, how do I feel when someone asks me for help? And you know what? I love it. I feel honored when a friend trusts me enough to ask for assistance. It makes me feel valued and needed. So why was I denying others the opportunity to feel the same way about helping me? Here's what I've learned. People generally want to help. Just as you would gladly assist a friend in need, others are often more than willing to lend a hand. Asking for help strengthens relationships. It creates opportunities for connection and deepens bonds. It's okay if someone says no. If they can't help, that's fine. At least you asked, and you'll never know unless you try. Now, this doesn't mean taking advantage of people's kindness. It's about finding a balance, being willing to ask for help when you need it, and also being there for others when they need you. So, how do you start if you're not used to asking for help? Start small. Maybe ask a neighbor to water your plants while you're away, or ask a friend for advice on a decision you're struggling with. Practice gratitude when people do help you. A sincere thank you goes a long way. 7. Overcoming doom scrolling. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about a modern toxic habit that's become all too common: doom scrolling. You know what I'm talking about, that mindless, endless scrolling through social media or news sites, often focusing on negative or anxiety-inducing content. It's a habit that can seriously impact our mental health and overall well-being. As someone whose job involves being on social media, this has been a particularly challenging habit for me to overcome. But I've found some strategies that have really helped, and I want to share them with you. The first step is awareness. I've learned to pay attention to how I feel when I'm on social media. Do I feel a tightness in my chest? Am I comparing myself to others and feeling inadequate? Am I getting anxious about world events that are out of my control? These physical and emotional responses are red flags that it's time to put the phone down. Here's the thing. I don't try to push these feelings away or pretend they don't exist. Instead, I acknowledge them. I let myself feel them. Because these uncomfortable feelings are actually helpful. They're what motivate me to close the app and engage with the real world around me. Once I became aware of how social media was affecting me, I started to make some changes. So there you have it. 7 toxic habits I've worked to overcome in my journey towards a simpler, more fulfilling life. And always remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're all figuring it out together, one day at a time. So here's to letting go of what doesn't serve us, embracing what does, and creating a life that's beautifully, wonderfully simple. Until next time, keep it simple, friends.